Next up, we have Goldman Sachs, a valued first-time raise sponsor who will share their insights on 5 ways to incorporate emerging managers into your portfolio. Please welcome Regina and Amy of Goldman Sachs.
Hello, everyone. My name is Regina Green. I'm a vice president at Goldman Sachs and America's head of Launch with GS. For those who don't know us, Launch with GS is Goldman Sachs' $1 billion investment strategy grounded in the data-driven thesis that diverse teams drive strong returns. Launch is proud to support the Raise Summit and this incredible community of forward-thinking LPs and fund managers. Through Launch, we aim to increase access to capital and facilitate connections for women, Black, Latinx, and other diverse entrepreneurs and investors. We do this by investing in growth stage companies with diverse leadership at the Series B and beyond, investing in VC, growth equity, and private equity managers across strategies with underrepresented GPs, and supporting the ecosystem with events, resources, and connections to expand the pipeline of investable opportunities. The data show that funds with diverse investing teams outperform, and emerging managers are becoming an increasingly critical part of the venture and growth equity landscape. However, the allocation of capital and representation of diverse perspectives in investing is not where we want it to be. In partnership with Raise, we seek to foster an environment in which underrepresented investors can find the support needed to establish new funds, and LPs can access exciting emerging managers to include in their portfolios. With that, I'm delighted to introduce my colleague, Amy Jupe, co-head of our private equity manager selection business, to share insights on incorporating emerging managers into a private equity portfolio.
We believe that for a number of reasons, emerging managers can be very additive to portfolios of private equity funds. Key reasons for this include a strong alignment of interests between the GP and LP, high levels of engagement and motivation at the GP, and typically smaller fund sizes that enable a greater degree of investment flexibility. While there are various benefits to investing with emerging managers, there are a number of considerations, and we wanted to share some thoughts on how to approach incorporating emerging managers into a portfolio. Firstly, we'd recommend that you allow an appropriate amount of time to conduct diligence. Conducting due diligence on any private equity fund takes time, but the process can sometimes be longer and more complicated for emerging managers. While there are many areas to focus on, it's key that LPs take time to really get to know the team and understand their prior experience and track records, as well as their vision for the organization and investment strategy. In contrast to more established managers, not all information will be as readily available in a data room, and therefore ample time should be spent with the team to discuss these topics, as well as conducting extensive references. We also believe that you should be prepared and proactive in terms of giving advice and guidance. While emerging managers can be excellent investors, some won't have had prior experience of managing an independent fund or organization. This presents an opportunity for LPs to help in ways beyond providing capital. Using your experience of investing in private equity and venture funds, you're well positioned to provide emerging managers with guidance and advice on industry best practices. Areas where advice could be most beneficial would include areas such as operational infrastructure, fund structure, capital formation, and talent management. Making use of your network, you can also be helpful in terms of making good introductions to other LPs, and all of this will be invaluable to the emerging managers. We also believe that it's important to determine how to incorporate emerging managers into your program. Now, there are lots of ways to add emerging managers to a program, but take time to consider what the best approach is for your organization, given your specific objectives. You may decide to have a dedicated portfolio of emerging managers, or you may feel that an allocation to emerging managers alongside established managers is more appropriate. Irrespective of the approach, consideration should be given to portfolio construction. LPs should focus on ensuring the appropriate sizing of allocations based on a consideration of the risk and return characteristics of the strategy, as well as what contribution the fund will make to portfolio diversification in terms of sector, strategy, and geography. We also believe that it's important to consider how to evaluate emerging managers after the first allocation. While an evaluation of any manager should take into consideration a variety of factors, performance evaluation should always be key. LPs should be clear in outlining to emerging managers how they will evaluate their performance when the time comes to commit to the next fund. While multiple exits and liquidity events may not be realistic to expect, LPs should be focused on evaluating investments versus the stated strategy and look for demonstrable progress in value creation. With this in mind, LPs should encourage emerging managers to take their time in deploying the fund and not rush to return to market to raise the next. And finally, we believe that it's important to give thought to the allocations beyond the first fund. Assuming the emerging manager performs well, LPs would be expected to make commitments to subsequent funds, and this should be factored into future planning. LPs should seek to avoid situations where emerging managers perform well, but they then don't have a home for them in their programs. For example, if you've allocated to a manager from an emerging manager program, how do you expect to continue to invest when the manager is no longer emerging? Further, LPs should proactively provide guidance to emerging managers about how they're thinking about future allocations. In particular, what size allocations should the manager expect in the future?